Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I says good afternoon because it's in the afternoon. It's actually 2 p.m., which means I get to have a chance to stand in front of the mirror, not the mirror, but the window, and make the video. And so it's Sunday. It's the first week of October, and this is the second Sunday of October. And today is October 12th, so we are actually ending the year really fast. Also today I marked the first 2 months of me making videos every single day. And yesterday I was thinking about making a video outdoors, so outside, but I haven't yet came up with the ideas or what I can share when I'm outdoor. And also I need a good computer, powerful computer that I can upload footages to my computer with enough, because if I record outdoor, my videos are going to be very long because I'll be walking around because I like to exercise. So I live in a neighborhood where it's very hard to walk around. People park on the streets, they cross the area, and then you have to like navigate with cars. It's not safe to walk around. So once I move to a neighborhood where I can easily walk around and exercise, go to a nearby park, eventually I can actually make these videos on while I'm walking around, so showing some areas. And that's all I have to share for today, and let's jump into today's topic. So this semester, starting from today, I am going to be discussing about poverty converging. Me and my other team, so we are 3 of us, so we are 4 of us, the other 3 guys, and we are both doing some sort of research on why don't we see poverty converging. Like, why don't we see poor countries succeeding, reaching the same level as rich countries, and we also don't see rich countries becoming poor. We see rich countries progressing, poor countries sort of decreasing. So poverty converging has been a hard topic since 2000s. This is because we see nations like in Africa where during the colonial time, these nations were actually succeeding. They are doing great. Like when you look at the videos in Kampala, Uganda, from 1960s, 1970s, people were actually driving brand new cars. They were like American people. They had brand new cars. They were progressing. But as soon as the colonies left the area, all these nations became extremely poor. So we see African nations' poverty becoming more and more and more of a problem. When I talk about poverty, what I mean is that people cannot afford the basic stuff: food to consume, a place to sleep. They don't have like infrastructure, to sleep in. They can't handle things that are out of their control, like climate change. There's no technology. When I say technology, I don't mean like fancy software like AI, but there has to be some improvement. Like people in Africa have been using the same equipment from like 1500s or years ago. So there has not been any improvement. Monetary policy, there is no, these nations are not getting enough policies to tighten their monetary policy. Security, there is not enough weapons to protect their own people. Resources, there's not any single knowledge on how to manage resources. And I'm not talking about like gold and oil. Those are like high level resources. Talking about resources that are simple stuff like trees, managing the land. People are also resources. But what we see, which is common, is the population growth. Like in Africa, for example, I saw the video yesterday, like a post on his Facebook, showcasing Nigeria and Japan having the same population. In fact, Nigeria was below the population of Japan from 1960 to by 2022, Nigeria has surpassed Japan in a much high level. Now, there is a skeptical here, the skepticism, because for one, after the colonies, many Africans migrated from rural areas to the urban areas, of course, for security reasons, but also for the opportunities. Another thing, of course, every time there's an administration, this is like urban planning 101. People move where they have a leader, right? People move in an area where they have leaderships, where they have somebody making decisions. So we see people moving from rural areas to urban areas in areas like Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, and other places. So as people move from the rural areas to urban areas, they need the resources. They need to be able to manage. They need the electricity. They need the water. They need the food, because they can't grow food in the urban areas. So this shift, this movement has created a huge population in one area and then depopulating in another area, underpopulating in another area. So from my understanding and my intuition is that A is either there's something wrong somewhere, or B, there is a mistake and misunderstandings in statistics. When we say that Nigeria is growing really fast, are we really saying that 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 200 years ago, Nigeria wasn't growing? People are now giving birth? Maybe they were, but maybe the statistics back then was not accurate. Like when you see in the United States, the statistics in the United States, starting from 1950, going back to many years ago, there was no African Americans in that statistics, because they are not considered to be citizens. So when they calculate the wealthy, when they calculate like a lot of policies and statistics and data, it excludes the black community, which makes things worse. When we do statistics analysis, we tend to exclude, we clean out anything starting from 1950s going backwards, because like for example, this is very important, things like financial reporting, we don't see African Americans as contributor in the economy of the United States because they are excluded in statistics. So those are the things that I am skeptical about when I think about Africa's population growth. Some nations like Japan and China, they have been tracking population growth since like 1980s, so it makes sense that for them, as they grow, they track the population. African nations did not do that. A, they don't have the resources. B, they didn't have stable government, which they don't have either to this day. And C, they were under the kingdoms. So the kingdoms did not really count or keep track of who is, who doesn't. They just knew each other by families and neighbors and stuff like that. We also see the colonies did not really count the Africans. They did not have like a specific number of the Africans, because not every African was counted by European colonies. So, but from 1990s, 1980s, 90s, 2000s, statistics has been improving, right? There's been counting, so we see the population growth. But what we don't see is the poverty converging. Usually we have seen nations like Japan, not Japan, but nations like China, right? In 1980s, they passed the policies about one-child policy by reducing the population growth. And about 2013, we see China like exploding. Why? Because people from 1980s, these were young people, these were teenagers. So when the government passed one-child policy, people started doing abortion. They will do whenever a woman would get pregnant with a girl, they will do abortion. It was totally fine to do abortion in China, and then they will wait until they have a boy, then they will give birth to a boy. So you have many guys being born And those guys, guess what they do? They work, they compete, right? They want to do something great. When you look at the Chinese people, they're not the smartest people in the world. If you've ever been saying Chinese people, they're not the smartest. They can't be compared with Japanese who have the working culture. What they do have though is the competition, because it's men. Men compete all the time. Men do not collaborate like women. They compete. So that sense of competition is what creates China to be one of the most highest developing nations in the world. But of course, their population is declining. They have more population that is aging, and they have more men, but they don't have women to marry, which is becoming a problem. Um, so we can rule out that China has been converging like really fast. We should see that how working in China. But what we don't see in Africa is the converging. No single country in Africa has converged to the top. Not even one single of them, right? And here's a problem. So our research is going to talk about why and what we can do. We are going to see the industrial, right? Like I'm talking about industry, like small industries like agriculture, trade. We could look into the regions. We could look into the regions of the Africa, the cultural shifts, demographics, education. The institutions have been a key factor in this problem, right? And so our research is going to be based on that. Why don't we see converging? So today, I don't have time. I'm about to go somewhere, but this video is to tell you that from today, consistently, I hope I won't lose the track. I am going to be, me and my teams are going to be researching about poverty converging. That is one thing that I'm working on. Another thing, my own story, my own research as well that I'm going to be working on is China's entrepreneurship. Okay, China has had so many entrepreneurship, and of course this has to do with having more men competing each other, and with one child policy, many Chinese did not, they were not sort of incentivized to give birth. They did not feel the need to marry. They just put growth ahead of everything. They just want to grow, they want to produce, they want cars, they want machines, they want to be professors, teachers, researchers, leaders. Like that drive, they motivate each other. And China has grown tremendously fast, like really fast. So we see these things happening, and of course the consequences is Chinese population declining, but of course Chinese are in the middle class level. In fact, they are actually close to surpassing the United States unless Donald Trump destroys their country, because they are vulnerable. Even though they are growing, they still have to rely on the US consumer, and the consumers have power to decide. If I stop buying from Walmart, which I buy most of the time, Walmart loses a customer. And if I don't buy from Walmart, I can buy somewhere else. I can buy from a Mexican restaurant. I can buy from a Mexican store. I can buy from an African store. I can buy from Amazon. I can buy anywhere. So when consumers have power, and when you rely on a consumer, when you rely on one consumer, and that consumer stops buying, especially if that consumer is a high level customer, we call these people upper level customers. When that consumer stops buying, you struggle. I am getting into real estate. If I build a bunch of fancy houses in Beverly Hills, California, Los Angeles area, and my target is to target these celebrities to live in my fancy houses, and these celebrities choose not to buy my houses, they choose to move to somewhere else like South Carolina or Florida, I'm not gonna sell it to anybody. I'm gonna have to be forced to cut the price on my houses and hoping that somebody's gonna buy them. So that's why we see in China, United States is a high profile customer. They buy so many things from China. We consume, I showed you guys yesterday, but everything we have here is made in China. And if we stop consuming, we can just shift our producer, our supplier to another country, which could harm China really bad. So adding on that their population is declining, so they don't have consumption. I mean, they have no people buying their stuff, and then we stop buying their stuff, they could suffer tremendously really bad. So but that's one of my projects is going to be coming up in December as I research on the Chinese entrepreneurship. But for now, me and my team are going to be working on the poverty converging. If you find this video very helpful, please let me know. I'm really excited doing this stuff, and like always, thanks for watching. Ciao ciao, see you tomorrow.